Hey YouTube, how's it going? Laser Ray here. Today's April 8th, 2018, and today we're going to be running some low voltage wire through to the outside of the house. To do that, we're going to have to cut a hole in the drywall so we can access to this sheathing. We're going to drill a hole in that sheathing and on through the siding so we can get the wire through the wall. We're going to cut another access down low by the baseboard in the drywall so we can drill a hole through the floor into the basement out of sight. We're going to run the wire, we're going to make our connections, we're going to test the system, and then finally we're going to patch that drywall up. I'm going to put in the comments below the different time points for those different steps so you can come back to them if you want to. There are different applications that this applies to: outdoor speakers, indoor speakers, HDMI cables, keep wires behind the wall for your TV so you don't see all those wires, or as in our case, for a video camera for surveillance system. I bought this video camera surveillance system a few months back on Amazon for $150. I liked it because it was hardwired. The reason I went with hardwired is because along with the video cable, it also comes with a power cable. I didn't want to have to mess with batteries, so I set it up once. It's a little more trouble up front, but then you never have to worry about it again. So here we go. I'm going to show you how I did it, and stay tuned. Alright, before we get started, let me show you what it looks like with the current configuration of 3 cameras. There's the DVR there. Turn on the monitor. This video feed selection I picked seemed to work best for me for 3 video cameras. One large view of the driveway off to the left, the front door on the side there off to the right. With this kit I also bought 4 100-foot extension cables. Comes with the video cable as well as the power cable, and once again that is one of the main reasons I went with a hardwired system, so I didn't have to mess with batteries. The power is hardwired. So let's go ahead and get that 4th camera out of the box. I left it there so I didn't lose it, of course. Let's see, we got some mounting hardware. We're going to see a template here to cut a hole in the siding. We have some screws there. And of course there's our camera. Okay, let's take a look outside. It's the view we want to capture. Capture the view of the backyard. We have the trampoline back there in the pool. Keep an eye on things. We will make this camera roughly the same height as the other 2 side cameras. Let's see here, I think 27 inches is a good rough estimate to come in. That accounts for the thickness of the wall. 24 additional inches. We should miss any studs that are in the wall. That would definitely impede our ability to drill through. So 24 inches over, we're going to make a mark, and then we're going to go ahead and use the stud finder and just confirm that we're not going to try to drill through studs in the wall. So I think we find one here at about 32 inches. Should be 2 studs over. Confirm. So we're going to go right next to that. Actually, making these cuts in the drywall right next to a stud is going to make fishing the line a lot easier for us later. We want to make the hole big enough so we can reach our hand in there, we can work in there. It's not going to impede our progress. As we'll see at the end, we're not even going to notice that we were here. So take a look here, get in there. We're going to cut through the drywall and of course the insulation. That'll give us access to the sheathing on the outside. Alright, let's head down to the basement here. Again, we want to get some rough estimates. We want to make sure there's no major electrical wires, there's no gas lines in the general area. The 24 inches should bring us right into that cavity between the floor joists, so we should be in good shape. We're going to need to get an electrical drill bit, of course, to drill through there into the wall. That's the one we're going to use, nice and thick. We get a couple wires now. That one's a little too small. And there's an extension, but we won't be needing that in this project. So we opened up the wall here just below our other opening. We're going to move the drywall out of the way. We're going to move the insulation out of the way. This 4-foot drill bit should get us through no problem, down through into the basement, and then we can start fishing our wires. And we are through. All right. So looks like we got ourselves down into the basement. We'll go ahead and detach this drill bit. We're going to leave it hanging so we can find it easily when we're in the basement. Let's head on down there and see where we ended up. Alright, not quite where we expected. We expected it to be to the right of that joist. We actually wound up to the left of it, but of course nothing too important in the way, no gas lines, no power lines. We did pretty good. So we should be able to easily run the wire from there. Go ahead and climb back up there and get rid of some of that insulation around the drill bit, detach some of that so we can go back up top and drill bit back through. Alright, that drill bit should slip out pretty easily, just a little twist, just a teeny bit of insulation left on the tip there. It has a screw tip so it can kind of help pull through that wood. Next, we're going to drill a pilot hole through the sheathing and then out through the siding. We kind of want to see where we end up before we drill our big hole. When we do drill our big hole, we want to make sure that the connectors fit through pretty good. So we're going to err on the side of caution and use a larger bit. Let's get that pilot bit attached to the drill here. Plug in here, and we will be off and running. Alright, let's get some of that insulation out of the way. We're going to make our pilot hole before we make our big hole, just to see where we end up on the outside. Heading to the sheathing, and then of course do the siding. So let's run outside here, let's see where we ended up. Alright, there's our hole. Definitely not a great spot. So we're going to go about an inch above that to try to get on the flat part of the siding. Alright, so there's our larger drill bit. Pocket it there. Through the sheathing. And we're through the siding as well. Alright, I can see daylight. Let's go take a look and we'll grab that camera and we'll start the connections here. Alright, much better, much better. So of course we'll fill that small hole with caulk when we get to it. There's a little bit of siding sticking on there. We'll have a trusty little knife. Get that out of there. Don't need that in the way. There's a little piece inside. There we go. Alright, ready to run our wires from our camera through the wall there. Hole isn't quite big enough to send them both through at the same time. So one at a time they go. That wire in there, we'll pull it through from the other end. A couple screws there to adjust the angle and the pitch of the camera. Those screws lined up. So we're going to go ahead and use decking screws so we can bite into that sheathing. We're not going to use the screws that came with the kit. I have had good luck with these deck screws and I've got plenty left over. Alright, here we go. There's 3 screw holes. Loosely fit them all in and then we'll snug them all up so they're even. Alright, good. Go ahead, there's a little collar on there, you loosen it up and then you can control the pitch of the camera. A couple adjustment screws here to loosen up. Set it to the right angle and lock it up here. This can always take some fine tuning later, but we'll just get it set up for now. This one's giving me a little trouble, but we've got it here. Snug that up. Snug the screws. Make sure we're at horizontal. So our picture looks good through our monitor. Alright, I think we're good to go there. Of course, we'll go ahead and caulk around here. We're going to fill that first pilot hole, fill that up with caulk. I'm going to caulk all the way around the camera. Oops. So caulk all the way around. Don't need any bugs. Don't need any water getting inside there. This escutcheon has a little hole at the bottom in case you run the wire on the outside, which we're not doing. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in as well. Smooth out that caulk, and we're going to be in pretty good shape. Take a couple hours to cure for us. All right. Caulking, the angle of the camera bends. We're going to fill that with caulk as well. We don't want any water or bugs getting in through the camera elbow itself there. There's a little packing tape there to close off our caulk. Okay, we're back inside. These extension cables have one side that goes to the DVR and one side that specifically goes to the camera. We're going to make sure we get the right side there. We're going to run our fish tape down through one hole to the other. Get approximate length before it gets started. We're going to use that stud that's right next to our hole to guide us down. Make sure we've got a 16-inch cavity there. It's real easy to get off track. We should be just about there. Let's see how we're doing here. A second person can help their ear down there and listen to guide it a little better, but we do just fine with one person here. Here we are. Again, making those holes big enough that you can manipulate the insulation and get your hand in there. It's a good idea. So, all right, let's attach our extension cable to the fish tape and we'll pull it on up through so we can make our connection to the camera. Depending on what type of wire you're fishing through, you might want to wrap this up with electrical tape to make sure you don't lose the connection, but this fish tape has a little hook on it, so with this short distance we shouldn't have any problems. Just pull it up through. Save us definitely some time. We'll get this coil, we got 100 foot of cable here, so we'll get this coil set up so it doesn't wrap around itself or bind up, so pull it through, it just should come through nice and easy. Alright, pulling that cable up through, looking good. Attached, put this aside. Again, we want to make sure we're very sure that we have the right end of the extension cable, the one that says to camera. Let me adjust the camera for you so we get a little bit better look here. Alright, so the camera feed, the video cable, actually has some connectors that lock in, you twist and lock them down so they don't come apart. Power cable doesn't quite have that, so I like to kind of tie it in a knot, loop it around itself, connect it there, and then we have some guarantee that it's not going to come loose. It doesn't hurt to have a little bit of slack there. We got a lot of cable. Need that much, so let's adjust that insulation, get that tucked down in there, try to get that insulation back in order. Come on down here to the bottom. So from the other end of the cable, we have to find that hole that we drilled in the floor. Again, one connector at a time, there's no room for both. There we go. And power. Down in the basement, we're going to speed this up. We don't want to watch 100 foot of cable run through the floor. So we're slowly from the basement pulling that cable on through. I adjusted the coil, so the cable is coming up to the middle of the coil. This is yet another spot. It's handy to have a second person. You can see how that cable is running through. Alright, super fast motion here. We'll get through that 100 feet real quick. Alright, and we're done. Alright, we're in good shape here. We're going to just loop a couple feet, not even a couple feet, maybe a foot, maybe 2 feet of cable there is slack, just in case we need to adjust anything. It's always a good idea to have some slack in the cable. You never want to make it just the right length. You can always cut cable. You can never extend it. Not easily, I should say. Right, now we're going to patch the drywall. So using some stir sticks from Home Depot that I got with a big 5-gallon bucket of stain, I cut those in half, kind of marking off where they're going to be behind the wall to give me a good visual. Actually can't go quite that far over because we got the stud in the way, but marking on the stir stick where we're going to be. So give us a good visual from the front end of what we're drilling into. Nice easy patch. There. Alright, so we're going to countersink these drywall screws because we already have paint on the wall, and there's a barrier. Make sure we get in there. We don't want to crack the drywall. That paint layer does make it a little bit of a shell, so we're going to get through that a little bit. Change our drill bit over. So change our battery to our other drill. These particular drywall screws are Phillips. I'm going to go ahead and get those started into the holes so we don't have to worry about holding them. So good idea where these go. Don't want to get our hand behind there and screw into our hand, of course. Just be aware of that. If we had a smaller patch, we could probably get away with just one stir stick, but this isn't going to hurt anything to have it a little more stable. All right, put 4 more screws into our patch piece. Should be a perfect fit since that's where it came from. Let's go. Drill, break through that layer. If this was raw drywall, there'd be no reason to have to do this. Get in there. We're going to snug them in. We're going to get them started. We're going to snug them at the end evenly. If we get them below the surface, just past the surface there, so the mud will cover it up. Do the same thing up here. It's slightly smaller. Actually, the stud is right there, so we're going to do these vertically. There's going to be drywall mud, there's going to be paint. It's not going to matter at all. These pencil marks on the wall. Actually get 3 pieces out of one stir stick there. So don't forget which one's which. Okay, a little Japanese pole saw. It's quick work. No reason to pull out the big heavy equipment power saw. This will do just fine for this quick little cut. easy to make a patch. You've seen this before. I'm going to speed that up a little bit so you don't have to worry about it. Just that little bit of extra effort there does help in the long run. Not having to worry about whether you're in the right spot or not. Same as before. Start wall so we don't have to hold screws. Just make sure you don't drill into your finger. It's never fun. Looks like I hit that wire, forgot all about it. Let's get that out of the way. Hopefully that didn't hurt anything. Didn't get too far in there. Awkward, but we got it. A little bit smaller area. I'm not going to go ahead. I'm not going to do 4 screws. 2 should work just fine here. Again, just get them in there, and then we'll snug them up at the end. All right. So down in the basement, we have all this wire to deal with. Get a couple zip ties ready. This is an unfurnished part of the basement, so we're not going to worry too much about it. It's going to stay unfinished. This is the utility area. So go ahead and loop all this wire up. Get it tied off with the zip ties. And we'll tuck it up out of the way. Should be plenty of slack. Alright, so here's our connection that I actually ran that wire previously when I installed the other 3 cameras. That's what we have to connect to. I didn't look real hard, but it would have been nice if they had a 10-foot length of cable instead of the 100-foot. But that's what I got, so that's what we have to work with. We're going to try to be neat with these cables. If you could at all help it, it's good to cross video cables with power cables at a 90-degree angle, make them perpendicular. It's supposed to cut down on interference. I have to say I haven't seen much of an issue in the past. I've had to run parallel. I haven't seen much of an issue, so we're going to run this wire parallel to some other wires that we saw on the side of the house there. Fairly nice and tidy. Now, I'm using a special stapler there that has a bump in the middle. Especially 4 cables, you see it's a little loose because of that. We do not want to damage the cable. With that extension kit, it came with an adapter that I'm using here. It's 2 female plugs. The adapter is male on both ends. So staple this, regular staple. We're going to staple this up here. Get that bundle of wires up out of the way. Totally missed. Going anywhere, especially now. Right. Get our cable stapler one more time. Goes up out of the way. It doesn't look super beautiful, but again, this is going to be an unfinished space, and it's tucked in the corner. So I'm going to show you how I trace these cables. Those are the 2 cables from the side of the house, one showing the driveway, one showing the side lot. Following this through the basement, up out of the way. Had a lot of extra wire there for those as well, so we moved it back and forth a bit. Alright, going up to the AV system. Here's where the other connectors were made, and that is the 3rd cable that we did not need the extension that goes to the front of the house. Now we got all 4 wires running up through to the AV system up through the floor. Similar idea there. So let's go ahead and turn it on. We're going to add our 4th camera to the display, and I think we're going to change that display around since we now have 4 cameras. It should be a 4-way display. 2. Looking good. We got a video picture of that pool, along with the other 4 views, the other 3 views. Here's the app. Like this app here. I can be in India, I can be in California, I can see all 4 camera feeds. Now, we do have to tell the app which cameras we want in which position, so let's go ahead and add our 4th new camera. There's the DVR, and there's camera 4. Alright, so it's selected. Select the single camera view. Very nice little app. Alright, we've got our wires run, we've got our system tested, everything looks good. Let's go ahead and clean up this drywall mess we've made. Go ahead and get the baseboard cleaned off, all the seams, make sure there's no dust sitting in there that'll mess up our patch job. Now I like to use this mesh tape. It's a little bit tacky on one side. Using the mesh tape on all the seams and the screw head seems to help a lot. Helps the drywall patch from cracking along those seams. So it just takes a little bit extra effort, and it seems like it's a good insurance policy to make sure we don't have any trouble later. Using my daughter's pretty pink scissors there. Let's get this patch on there, and then we'll get to the mud. Same thing up top here. Go ahead and use the mesh tape. Smaller patch area, so use a little less tape. Alright, and time to pull out the tub of mud. Definitely need at least 2 layers of mud with sanding in between. Most people do a 3rd layer, but depends how well we do in the first 2. Pretty even. Layer down there. Get that first patch. It's going to sit there and dry, and we'll be good to go. Okay, we're going to give this a good 24 hours to dry. In the meantime, we'll get the room back in order for the kids and their friends. Play their video games. They've been waiting for that. So 24 hours have gone by. We're going to go ahead and sand down our patch. We're going to pay attention to our transitions. We're going to feather the edges out real good. If there's any high points, we're going to shave them down from the drywall knife. Take your time and really feather out the edges well. It's going to help out in the long run. You can see there's still some drywall mesh tape there, and the screw holes are still showing. Definitely take care of those on the 2nd layer. For the 2nd layer, we're going to actually use drywall compound. We're going to mix some up. It's easier to get into the trough because we're actually going to use the 12-inch knife for the 2nd layer. It's a lot easier to feather it in. So this drywall compound, I've had it a couple years. It collects water over time. If there's humidity in the air, you may need more or less water. So it's always better to add water bit by bit until you find the right consistency. I like it to be about this consistency of peanut butter. In this case, I actually added just a little too much water, so I'm going to have to go back and get some more powder. Do keep in mind that this is 15-minute mud, so we don't have a whole lot of working time, but we should be alright here. Mix it up. We don't quite want it as loose as mayonnaise. Peanut butter is a better consistency for this 2nd layer. Alright, we're in good shape. Rinse off your tools now. You don't want to forget about them. You don't want that drywall mud to be crusted on your tools. Best to take the extra couple seconds and just get that taken care of. Alright, it's nice for this layer to be a little looser. It's a little easier to spread, a little easier to feather out. Key here, fill in those holes for the screw heads, cover up that mesh, and make the area a little bigger so we can really feather it out. Better job we do with the knife here, the the sanding will have to be layered, and if you're good enough here, I've actually seen some people sand with just a wet sponge to just knock down a couple high points. Just be mindful, this is 15-minute mud, so you don't want to spend a whole lot of time, but definitely get a good layer, nice and smooth. Better off in the long run. As you do that feathering motion, we actually have a lot of pressure on the wall, and less pressure on the side of the patch. So that's the scraping you hear. There, no scraping. Now when we feather, applying pressure to the outside of that knife. Alright, I think we're in pretty good shape here. Alright, we've done all 4 of these patches. Those 2 patches are left from when we did the side cameras. Went ahead and did the second layer there. And now to sand a little bit. Again, this should be a light sanding because it's layer 2. So make sure you feather it in really good. Any bumps, want to knock those down. If we're good enough here after our sanding, we just paint right over it. We won't have to worry about a 3rd layer. All depends on how well you do with the sanding. We'll make sure those screw holes are perfectly filled in and flat. Ridges. Sanding over here, did a pretty good job. Doing pretty good. Alright. We have these 2 down here. Let's sand it off. Good. Is that just knocked down? Bumps knocked off. As always, we're going to clean up our mess before we move on. Definitely do not want that drywall dust tracked throughout the house. Clean up the whole patch, clean up that baseboard. Get all that drywall dust taken care of. Alright, that's all cleaned up. We're going to make our wife happy by doing that. Next, we're on to paint. Stir up that paint. Always make sure you do that. Go ahead and use a small little roller, small little area that we're painting, so we don't need a big roller. Big roller, a little mess. This handy little piece of plastic clips right into the paint can, and it saves you so much trouble and time cleaning up messes. Just get the paint all down after the can. Here's how this works. Gets that up away from the side of the can, clean that up. No drip, no mess. I think we drip that before. It's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and use a 2-inch cut-in brush. I prefer not to take the extra time, tape everything off. Just a steady hand, you can take a little bit of extra time. Painting, and you're not going to need all that extra prep work. Sometimes it's up to a half hour, prepping with all that tape. Half the time the paint gets underneath the tape anyway, so it's easier to take your time here. Do it right. A little bit of painting on the baseboard there. It's easily cleaned up with a wet cloth. Alright, got a wet paper towel, clean that right up. Do that quickly before I have a chance to dry, and you're in good shape. Otherwise you have to go back and repaint that baseboard. Alright, we're cutting in that other side, almost ready to start rolling on the paint. This little roller, good for little jobs. Go easy here so you don't want to flip the paint all over the place, but will run pretty well. You have to go out a little bit from the patch to cover up some of our sanding. Blending right back into that wall. Good. Still want to feather the edges there just to make sure we don't have any thickness of the paint showing our patch. Alright, last two patches left. It's easy. Again, we don't want paint flying everywhere. Once this dries, it's going to blend right back into the wall. Nice and easy. Let's go and feather those edges. It's going to melt right back into that wall. Alright, here we are. The paint is dry, and it looks like